Now, the state of West Virginia isn't typically known for its big bucks up in the northern part of the state, but Pro Staff member Jason Hughes picked out a deer that he'd like to take out of the herd. Let's go to West Virginia and check in with Jason.
Well, it's middle of October. We're here in West Virginia, going on this bow hunt. And I'd actually previously seen this deer. I was going into hunting. My buddy had seen him during squirrel season, told me about him. And I kept going up there and looking for him, trail cameras, couldn't get no sightings of him. And the day previous, before I harvested this deer, I actually went up there and he was standing in their backyard eating under a pear tree. Well, I just come back from a little fishing trip from down the mountains fishing for trout and called my buddy, see if he could do some filming for me. He said, sure, why not? So we go in there, we get set up in our stand. We use our self-climbers, using those quick setups. And it wasn't too long after we get in there, here comes some guys on four-wheelers. And they stop like 100 yards from us and just start tearing everything up, raising all kinds of cane, and we think our evening's shot. And a few minutes later, after they get done ripping and tearing, they leave and drive back out the hill where I was expecting the deer to come from. I'm all disgusted, and I'm thinking my evening's totally lost. Well, no more than they get out of earshot, I happen to look out and I see a deer stand up out of a treetop, and it was actually the buck that I'd went in there to hunt. They had drove right past him and never fazed him a bit, and he turned and fed right to us. It took him probably 45 minutes to feed in. Well, the reason I really wanted to harvest this deer, he's a 3-year-old deer that just didn't have anything really going for him. One side he had all short tines, the other side he had one long G2. He's just a goofy looking deer, and my personal opinion, I didn't think he's ever gonna be anything, so I was wanting to get him out of the herd. Well, as this deer's feeding in, he's probably 55, 60 yards and kind of angling at us. Well, I got my quiver off my bow hanging on a little bow hanger next to me. Well, I go to turn and trying to hug the tree so he don't see me, and what do? I knock my quiver out of the tree.
Can't believe how lucky Jason is. This buck's coming in, he's only about 70 yards out, maybe even a little closer, and Jason drops his quiver. Who can get away with that? Only Jason Q.
And luckily, when it first fell, I thought that Hunt's over with, he's gone spooked. But he didn't. He just kind of picked his head up and looked around like he didn't know what happened. And he went back to feeding and come feeding right in. And gave me the perfect shot I've been looking for. Well, after the shot, he kind of just jumped a little bit and ran. And I was expecting him to go out of sight. Well, he takes about 3 or 4 hops from where I shot him at and stops and just starts running in circles and goes down. He actually probably ran less than the distance I shot him at.
You just drilled a baby. It's the same buck I seen in here yesterday at 11:30 in the morning. We've been watching for the last hour at 120 yards out here. It took him an hour to feed in here. I was a full draw for 30 seconds. He kept quartering to me. He didn't go 15 yards. He's dead. We've had guys come in on four-wheelers on us. People was up here squirrel hunting all over the place. And this is the first deer we've seen tonight. And he's walked in, and I just busted him at I'm so shook at 15 yards. He is down. Yes. Look up here and get him close. For West Virginia, this area part of West Virginia, it don't get really a whole lot better than this. This is a pretty decent buck. A little gnarly. He's got all 3 tines on this side of here. G2, G3, and G4 are all close together. And his G4 is the longest one. He was coming in, and he was still out there a good little ways, and I reached around the tree to hold on, knocked my quiver out. I had 1 arrow. I was praying to God I didn't miss, but when they're less than 15 yards, it's hard, but we've all been there and done it. I'm tickled to death.